Hello, I'm Dr. Emma Collins, a biomedical scientist with a PhD in biomedical science, specializing in nutrition, aging, and how lifestyle factors can influence our health and longevity. I want you to consider something. What if the key to rebuilding muscle overnight has very little to do with the magnesium supplement everyone recommends? For years, we've been told it's the miracle mineral for relaxation and recovery. And yes, magnesium is important, but the truth is, it's not the whole story. The real architects and builders for nighttime repair are two overlooked vitamins, working behind the scenes to orchestrate cellular recovery. And this isn't about building bigger biceps. This is about your independence, your mobility, and your long-term health. So if you've been feeling sore, fatigued, or just not bouncing back the way you used to, this video was made for you. If that sounds at all familiar, let me know in the comments where you're watching from. And be sure to press that like button and subscribe, because you are going to want to hear what comes next. To truly understand why these two vitamins are so critical, we first need to change the way we think about muscle itself. For most of our lives, we've been conditioned to see muscle as something purely cosmetic, or perhaps functional in a basic way, something for athletes, or for young people concerned with their appearance at the beach. But the science of longevity tells us a profoundly different story. Muscle is not about vanity. It is one of the most powerful, metabolically active organs in your entire body. In fact, I want you to start thinking of it as your longevity organ. This isn't just a catchy phrase. It's a biological reality that has enormous implications for how well you age. Let's break down what that really means, especially as we get older. First, your skeletal muscle is the primary site for glucose disposal in your body. Think of your muscles as a massive sugar sponge. After you eat a meal, especially one containing carbohydrates, your blood sugar rises. Healthy muscle tissue eagerly soaks up that excess glucose from your bloodstream, storing it for later use as energy. This single function is profoundly important. When you have less muscle mass or when your muscles become insulin resistant, that sugar has nowhere to go. It lingers in your bloodstream, leading to chronically high blood sugar levels, which is the direct pathway to type 2 diabetes, a condition that accelerates aging and increases the risk for nearly every chronic disease, from heart disease to Alzheimer's. So, maintaining healthy muscle is one of your best lines of defense against metabolic dysfunction. It acts as your body's built-in blood sugar management system. Second, muscle is intricately linked to bone health. This is something that becomes critically important as we age, with the rising risk of osteoporosis and debilitating fractures. Your bones are not static. They are constantly remodeling themselves in response to the forces placed upon them. When your muscles contract, they pull on your bones. This gentle, consistent stress signals your bones to lay down new mineral content and become denser and stronger. Strong muscles literally build strong bones. Conversely, when we lose muscle, a condition called sarcopenia, we also lose that vital mechanical loading on our skeleton. Our bones become more brittle, and our risk of a fall-related fracture skyrockets. A hip fracture, as many of you may know, can be a life-altering event for an older adult, often marking the beginning of a sharp decline in independence and overall health. Preserving muscle is, therefore, a direct strategy for preserving your skeletal integrity and your freedom of movement. Third, muscle is an endocrine organ. This is a fascinating area of research that has exploded in recent years. Your muscles actually produce and secrete powerful signaling molecules called myokines, especially during and after physical activity. These myokines travel throughout your body and act like anti-inflammatory messengers. They help to lower the chronic, low-grade inflammation that is now recognized as a root cause of most age-related diseases. This systemic inflammation contributes to everything from arthritis and heart disease to cognitive decline. So, when your muscles are healthy and active, they are actively fighting inflammation on your behalf, protecting your entire system. A body with healthy muscle mass is a body with a lower inflammatory burden. And finally, that brings us to the brain. The muscle-brain connection is incredibly powerful. The same myokines that reduce inflammation also cross the blood-brain barrier, where they promote the growth of new neurons and support brain plasticity. This means that maintaining muscle mass is directly linked to maintaining cognitive function, memory, and processing speed as you age. It's one of the most effective strategies we know of for reducing the risk of age-related cognitive decline and neurodegenerative diseases. So you see, muscle is so much more than what it appears to be. It is your metabolic regulator, your skeletal protector, your inflammation fighter, and your brain supporter. It is, without a doubt, a central organ of longevity. Losing it, whether from inactivity, poor nutrition, or inadequate recovery, is not a minor inconvenience. It's a serious blow to your health span, accelerating the onset of frailty, metabolic disease, and cognitive challenges. Now, here is the critical distinction that most people miss. The most important part of building and maintaining this vital organ does not happen while you are lifting weights, walking, or doing yard work. That part is the stimulus. It's the signal. Imagine you're an architect, and your workout is the process of drawing up a detailed blueprint for a stronger, more resilient building. You spend time carefully designing every element, specifying where new beams should go, where walls need reinforcement. That blueprint is essential. Without it, nothing happens. But the blueprint itself is not the building. The actual construction, the process of hiring the crew, pouring the concrete, and erecting the steel beams, that happens later. It happens when you are at rest. And the most profound, most intensive construction work happens at night, while you are in your deepest stages of sleep. During this time, your body transitions from a state of energy expenditure to a state of profound repair and rebuilding. The construction crew, so to speak, clocks in for the night shift. But if that crew shows up to the job site and discovers that the supply truck never arrived, if they have no concrete, no steel, no tools, then that beautiful, detailed blueprint remains nothing more than a piece of paper. The work cannot get done. This is precisely what happens in your body when it lacks the specific micronutrients needed for nighttime repair. You can have the perfect exercise signal, but without the raw materials, there is no construction. This is why understanding what your body needs at night is the key that unlocks real, lasting progress. So, if the real magic happens while we are asleep, the next logical question is, what is actually going on inside our cells during that time? We tend to think of sleep as a passive state of simply being off. But physiologically, it is one of the most active and highly orchestrated periods of the entire 24-hour cycle. As you drift into the deeper stages of sleep, particularly slow-wave sleep, your body initiates an incredible symphony of repair, regeneration, and rebuilding. For your muscle tissue, this is prime time. Let's start with the conductor of this symphony, your hormones. As you enter deep sleep, your pituitary gland, a small pea-sized gland at the base of your brain, begins to release powerful pulses of human growth hormone, or HGH. This hormone is the master signal for repair. It travels through your bloodstream and essentially tells your cells, the time to break down is over. Now is the time to build. Growth hormone is a primary driver of protein synthesis, which is the fundamental process of taking amino acids from the protein you've eaten and weaving them into new, stronger muscle fibers. Without this nightly surge of growth hormone, the stimulus from your daytime exercise would go largely unanswered. You would be sending the blueprint, but the construction order would never be issued. Simultaneously, at the cellular level, specific pathways are activated. You may have heard of a pathway called mTOR, which is a central regulator of cell growth and protein synthesis. At night, in the presence of growth hormone and amino acids, this pathway gets the green light. Think of it as a switch inside your cells. During the day, it might be in a more neutral or energy-saving mode. At night, sleep and hormones flip it into build mode. But here's the key. These molecular switches are not simple on-off buttons. They often require cofactors to function properly. These cofactors are vitamins and minerals that act like the specific keys needed to turn the locks and allow the process to move forward. Without the right keys, the switches can't be fully activated, and the entire rebuilding process stalls or becomes inefficient. Now, let's talk about the energy source for all this construction: your mitochondria. These are the tiny organelles inside your cells that we all learned about in high school biology as the powerhouses of the cell. And they certainly are. But at night, their role shifts dramatically. Instead of being in full-time energy production mode to fuel your daily activities, they enter a state of deep repair and maintenance. Think of it as a power plant shutting down a turbine for scheduled service. During sleep, your mitochondria engage in a crucial cleanup process. They work to neutralize and repair the damage caused by oxidative stress, which is an unavoidable byproduct of turning food and oxygen into energy. This oxidative stress generates unstable molecules called free radicals that can damage cellular components, including the mitochondria themselves. Furthermore, a remarkable process called mitophagy ramps up. This is essentially cellular quality control. The cell identifies mitochondria that are too damaged or dysfunctional to work properly, and it dismantles and recycles them. This makes way for new, healthy mitochondria to take their place. This is absolutely critical for long-term muscle health and energy levels. Why? Because damaged mitochondria don't just produce less energy, they also produce more oxidative stress, creating a vicious cycle of fatigue and cellular damage that directly impairs muscle recovery and accelerates aging. Again, this entire cleanup and recycling operation is not automatic. It relies on a team of enzymes that, you guessed it, are dependent on specific vitamin cofactors to do their job of neutralizing free radicals and rebuilding mitochondrial membranes. And there's another fascinating process that peaks during sleep: collagen synthesis. We often think of muscle as just the contractile fibers, but muscle is part of a larger system of connective tissues, including tendons, which attach muscle to bone, and ligaments, which connect bone to bone. These tissues are made primarily of collagen, the most abundant protein in the human body. It's the structural scaffolding that holds you together. Exercise, especially resistance training, places stress not just on the muscle fibers, but on this entire connective tissue matrix. Sleep is when your body gets to work repairing and reinforcing this scaffolding. The enzymes responsible for weaving collagen molecules into strong, resilient fibers are highly dependent on very specific vitamins. Without an adequate supply of these vitamins, your collagen repair is incomplete. This can leave your tissues weak and more prone to injury, which is why people with poor recovery often complain of nagging aches and pains in their joints and tendons, not just their muscles. This brings us back to the common misconception about magnesium. People reach for it hoping for better recovery, and it can indeed help with muscle relaxation and sleep quality, which is certainly part of the puzzle. Magnesium is a cofactor in over 300 enzymatic reactions, so its importance is not in question. But when we look at the specific, deep biochemical work of rebuilding muscle protein, cleaning up mitochondria, and synthesizing collagen, other nutrients play a far more direct and non-negotiable role. They are the molecular tools that the enzymes and cellular pathways absolutely require to function. To use our construction analogy one last time, exercise is drafting the blueprint. Sleep is when the construction crew shows up. But if that crew arrives at the site and finds their toolboxes are empty, nothing meaningful gets built. The two vitamins we are about to discuss are the essential frontline tools that allow the crew to actually do their job. Without them, recovery is blunted, muscle remains sore, and your progress toward a stronger, more resilient body will inevitably plateau. So now that we understand this hidden world of cellular processes that happen during sleep, from the surge of growth hormone to mitochondrial cleanup and collagen synthesis, it is time to reveal the first of these two critical vitamins. This is where the science gets incredibly compelling, because research over the past decade has completely transformed our understanding of its role, showing clearly how it enhances protein synthesis and reduces inflammation overnight. All right, now let's get into the first of our two key vitamins. The first vitamin that plays a surprisingly powerful role in rebuilding muscle overnight is vitamin D. Now, I know what many of you might be thinking. Wait a minute, Dr. Patrick. Vitamin D? Isn't that the sunshine vitamin? The one that's for bone health? And you are absolutely right. It is critically important for bone health, primarily because it helps our bodies absorb calcium. But the research over the last 15 to 20 years has unveiled a much broader, more profound role for vitamin D in the body. We now understand that it functions less like a traditional vitamin and more like a potent steroid hormone. A hormone is a signaling molecule that travels through the body and tells cells what to do. And vitamin D does exactly that. It influences the expression of over 200 genes, many of which are directly tied to muscle function, inflammation, and recovery. Let's look at what is happening at the cellular level, inside your muscle tissue. Your skeletal muscle cells are dotted with specific docking stations called vitamin D receptors, or VDR. When you have sufficient vitamin D circulating in your bloodstream, it travels to these muscle cells and binds to these receptors, like a key fitting into a lock. This binding event triggers a cascade of signals inside the cell. It's like turning on a series of genetic switches that command the cell to perform specific actions. One of the primary actions it commands is an increase in muscle protein synthesis. The activated vitamin D receptor directly influences the genetic pathways that we talked about earlier, like the mTOR pathway, essentially giving them a green light to start building new muscle proteins. This is not just a theory. Numerous clinical studies have demonstrated this effect. In studies involving older adults, those with sufficient vitamin D levels consistently show greater muscle strength, better physical performance, and a reduced risk of sarcopenia, the age-related loss of muscle mass compared to those who are deficient. But its role doesn't stop there. Vitamin D also improves the handling of calcium within the muscle fibers themselves. Calcium is the trigger for muscle contraction, and efficient calcium cycling is crucial for both muscle power and relaxation. Better calcium handling means your muscles can contract more forcefully and recover more quickly. Furthermore, vitamin D has powerful anti-inflammatory effects. When its receptor is activated, it helps to downregulate the production of inflammatory cytokines within the muscle tissue, which can help reduce the soreness and microdamage that result from exercise. One particularly fascinating study published in the American Journal of Clinical Nutrition found that vitamin D supplementation in adults improved their mitochondrial oxidative capacity. Let me translate that. It means their mitochondria, the powerhouses, became more efficient. They could produce more energy with less resulting oxidative stress. That is a direct, measurable link between having enough vitamin D and supporting those critical mitochondrial repair processes that happen while you sleep. Another line of research suggests that vitamin D is crucial for the activation of satellite cells. These are the resident stem cells of your muscles. When you exercise and create microscopic damage, these satellite cells are activated to fuse with existing muscle fibers to repair them and make them bigger and stronger. Without sufficient vitamin D, the activation of these critical repair cells is blunted, meaning your muscles cannot adapt or grow as efficiently in response to exercise. Let me break this down with our construction analogy. If exercise is the blueprint and sleep is when the construction crew shows up, think of vitamin D as the project manager on the construction site. The workers, the cellular machinery, might be present, and the blueprint, the exercise stimulus, has been laid out. But without a project manager to give clear instructions, coordinate the different teams, manage the energy budget, and ensure safety protocols are followed, managing inflammation, the entire project becomes chaotic and inefficient. Progress is slow, mistakes pile up, and the final structure is weak. Vitamin D provides that essential leadership at the genetic level, making sure that protein synthesis is activated, inflammation is managed, and energy production is optimized for the job of rebuilding. So, what does this mean for you, practically? First, it's important to recognize that vitamin D deficiency is incredibly common, particularly in the United States. It's estimated that over 40% of American adults are deficient. This risk is even higher for older adults, individuals who live in northern latitudes with less sun exposure during the winter, people who spend most of their time indoors, and those with darker skin pigmentation, as melanin naturally reduces the skin's ability to produce vitamin D from sunlight. For muscle health, the evidence is quite clear. Blood levels of vitamin D below 30 nanograms per milliliter NaN, divided by ml, are strongly associated with increased muscle weakness, slower recovery, and a greater risk of falls. While the official guidelines might seem lower, many studies focusing on optimal muscle function suggests that the ideal range is likely closer to 40 to 60 ng divided by ml. From a practical standpoint, you can get vitamin D from three main sources: smart sun exposure on your skin, certain foods, and supplementation. Fatty fish like salmon, mackerel, and sardines are excellent food sources, as are egg yolks and fortified milk or yogurt. However, for many people, especially during the winter months, getting enough from the sun and food alone can be very difficult. This is where supplementation becomes a valuable tool. And this is where timing comes into play. Because vitamin D is a fat-soluble vitamin, taking it with a meal that contains some healthy fat like avocado, olive oil, or nuts significantly enhances its absorption. Taking your vitamin D supplement in the evening, with your dinner, ensures that it is absorbed and available in your bloodstream during that critical nighttime recovery window. This is precisely when your body is orchestrating protein synthesis and mitochondrial repair, the very processes that vitamin D so powerfully influences. So now we have covered vitamin D, the project manager, ensuring all your recovery processes run smoothly and efficiently according to the blueprint. But every great project manager needs a skilled and reliable engineer working alongside them. Someone who is focused on the integrity of the building materials and the safety of the power systems. That brings us to our second vitamin, which is just as critical for nighttime recovery because of its fundamental role in building tissues and providing antioxidant defense. Let's dive into that next. The second vitamin that becomes incredibly important for rebuilding muscle overnight is vitamin C. Now, just like with vitamin D, most people have a very specific and somewhat limited idea of what vitamin C does. We almost exclusively associate it with immune health, taking it to prevent or shorten the common cold. And while it does play a role in immune function, its most fundamental and often overlooked job in the body is essential for physical recovery. Vitamin C is the non-negotiable cofactor for collagen synthesis, connective tissue repair, and mitochondrial protection, all of which are critical components of muscle recovery. Here is what is happening at the cellular level. Vitamin C acts as a crucial helper molecule for two key enzymes called prolyl hydroxylase and lysyl hydroxylase. These enzymes have a very specific job. They are responsible for stabilizing and cross-linking collagen molecules. Think of it like this. Your body produces individual collagen strands, which are like flimsy threads. These enzymes, with the help of vitamin C, weave and weld those threads together to form a strong, resilient three-dimensional mesh. This collagen mesh forms the structural scaffolding that holds your muscles, tendons, and ligaments together. It's the very fabric of your connective tissue. Without adequate vitamin C, this process breaks down. The enzymes cannot function, and the collagen your body produces is weak and unstable. This is why one of the classic symptoms of a severe vitamin C deficiency, a condition known as scurvy, is literally the disintegration of connective tissues, leading to bleeding gums, joint pain, and poor wound healing. While thankfully most people today are not dealing with full-blown scurvy, research suggests that even suboptimal or borderline low vitamin C intake can significantly impair tissue repair after exercise. You might not have scurvy, but your body may lack the optimal amount of this vitamin needed to properly rebuild the collagen matrix in your tendons and muscles after a workout, or even just a long day of physical activity. But vitamin C's role in recovery goes far beyond just connective tissue. It is also one of the body's most powerful and important water-soluble antioxidants. Remember when we discussed the mitochondria and how they generate reactive oxygen species, or free radicals, as a byproduct of making energy? This process is amplified during intense training. At night, as your mitochondria shift into repair and recalibration mode, that accumulated oxidative stress can interfere with the repair process. Vitamin C is a frontline defender against this. It circulates throughout the water-based environments of your body, including inside your cells, and readily donates electrons to neutralize these damaging free radicals, protecting your mitochondrial membranes and cellular DNA from damage. In fact, several studies suggest that maintaining an adequate vitamin C status helps improve mitochondrial function, and can reduce the severity of exercise-induced muscle soreness, often called DOMS. Let me give you a simple analogy to tie this all together. If vitamin D is the project manager we discussed earlier, then vitamin C is the lead structural engineer on the site. The project manager, vitamin D, ensures the workers show up, follow the blueprint, and stay on schedule. But the structural engineer, vitamin C, is the one meticulously checking the quality of the raw materials. They ensure that the concrete, collagen, is properly mixed and reinforced, that the steel beams are solid, and that the building's electrical system, your mitochondria, is properly shielded and grounded to prevent sparks and fire's oxidative stress. You can see how they work together. One without the other creates a significant vulnerability. A great project manager with faulty materials will end up with a weak building. A great engineer with a disorganized crew will see nothing get built at all. Together, vitamin D and vitamin C create a recovery environment that is both efficient in its execution and resilient in its structure. So, how can you ensure you have optimal vitamin C intake? This is a key point. Unlike most other mammals, and unlike our ability to produce vitamin D from sunlight, humans lost the ability to synthesize our own vitamin C millions of years ago due to a genetic mutation. We absolutely must get it from our diet or from supplementation every single day. The richest whole food sources are probably not what you think. While citrus fruits are good, red bell peppers actually contain about 3 times more vitamin C than an orange. Other fantastic sources include strawberries, kiwi, broccoli, and dark leafy greens like kale. For the purpose of supporting muscle recovery, studies suggest that daily doses of around 200 to 500 milligrams are more than adequate to fully saturate your plasma levels and provide the necessary support for collagen synthesis and antioxidant defense. Taking it at night, especially alongside your vitamin D, can be a powerful strategy. This timing ensures that your body has a fresh supply of this crucial enzyme available precisely when the nighttime construction and repair of connective tissue is at its peak. There's another interesting point of synergy here. Vitamin C is also responsible for regenerating other antioxidants in the body, most notably vitamin E, which is a fat-soluble antioxidant that protects the fatty membranes of your cells. So, when you have enough vitamin C on board, you are indirectly boosting your entire antioxidant network, further protecting your mitochondria and cellular structures. This is where the partnership with vitamin D becomes particularly powerful. At night, vitamin D is busy orchestrating the genetic program for muscle protein synthesis and repair, while vitamin C is working tirelessly in the background, protecting those very cells from oxidative stress and ensuring that the connective tissues that support them are rebuilding properly. One without the other truly leaves the job half done. Now that we have explored how vitamin D and vitamin C work individually, the critical question becomes, how do we put this science into practice in a way that reliably supports muscle recovery every single night? Because the best science in the world is only as powerful as its consistent application. The first step, and always the best place to start, is with food. Whole food sources of these vitamins are ideal because they don't just deliver the isolated nutrients. They come packaged in a complex matrix with complementary compounds, things like polyphenols, fiber, and other cofactors that can amplify their effects. For vitamin D, as we mentioned, fatty fish are at the top of the list. A nice portion of wild-caught salmon, mackerel, or sardines a few times a week can provide a significant amount. Egg yolks are another good source, which is a reminder to eat the whole egg, not just the whites. Some dairy products and plant-based milks are also fortified with vitamin D. For vitamin C, think color. The most vibrant fruits and vegetables are often the richest sources. A single red bell pepper can provide well over 200% of your daily requirement. A cup of strawberries, a kiwi, or a serving of steamed broccoli are all excellent choices. Imagine a simple dinner. A beautiful plate of roasted salmon for the vitamin D, served with a side of sautéed broccoli and red bell peppers for the vitamin C. That single meal is not only delicious, but it's a powerhouse specifically designed for nighttime recovery. The second step is smart supplementation. And here, as we've discussed, timing becomes critical. Most people take their supplements in the morning, or just whenever they happen to remember. But our body's physiology operates on very distinct rhythms, known as circadian rhythms. These rhythms dictate when certain processes, like repair, are prioritized. As we've established, nighttime is when growth hormone is released, when mitochondria shift into repair mode, and when protein synthesis for muscle peaks. This is the biological window of opportunity. Having vitamin D and vitamin C available in your system during this window makes the biggest impact. So, a very practical protocol is to take your supplements with your evening meal or shortly before bed. Remember to take vitamin D with a source of healthy fat, a handful of nuts, a spoonful of olive oil, or some avocado to ensure you absorb it properly. This simple act of timing ensures that your cells have the tools they need at the exact time the construction crew is on the job. Dosage matters as well. For vitamin D, most research suggests that maintaining serum levels in that optimal range of 40 to 60 nanograms per milliliter is best for muscle function. For most adults, this translates to supplementing with around 1,000 to 2,000 international units, or IUs, daily. However, some people may require higher amounts depending on their baseline levels, which is why getting your blood levels tested by your doctor is always a good idea. For vitamin C, a daily intake of 200 to 500 milligrams is typically sufficient to saturate your tissue levels and support collagen synthesis without being excessive. Higher doses are generally not more effective, as your body will simply excrete the excess in urine. Now, let's re-emphasize the synergy. Vitamin D and vitamin C are a complementary team. Vitamin D is the manager, driving the activation of genes involved in building new muscle protein. Vitamin C is the engineer, ensuring the connective tissues are rebuilt and that the entire process is protected from oxidative damage. Taking them together at night creates a powerful dual support system. One is focused on building new muscle fibers, and the other is focused on protecting and reinforcing them. It's like having both a skilled architect and a master structural engineer working in perfect harmony on the same project. Of course, these vitamins don't work in a vacuum. It's also important to pair them with lifestyle factors that amplify their effects. Prioritizing 7 to 9 hours of quality sleep each night is what gives your body the necessary time to actually run these recovery programs. Consistent resistance training, even if it's just bodyweight exercises or using resistance bands, is what provides the essential blueprint for muscle growth. Consuming adequate protein, especially from sources rich in the amino acid leucine like eggs, whey protein, or legumes, provides the actual raw building blocks. And finally, managing stress through practices like mindfulness, meditation, or even sauna therapy helps to reduce the chronic inflammation that would otherwise blunt these recovery processes. When we zoom out from the nightly cycle of recovery, a much larger picture comes into focus. It becomes clear that these processes are not just about feeling less sore after a day of gardening or a workout. They are about actively shaping the trajectory of your aging process. Night after night, week after week, the quality of your recovery determines whether you are building resilience in your body or slowly accumulating damage. This is where vitamin D and vitamin C truly step into the longevity conversation. Let's start with one of the greatest fears associated with aging: frailty. Frailty is a clinical state of increased vulnerability, and it's one of the greatest predictors of reduced lifespan and loss of independence in older adults. The primary driver of frailty is sarcopenia, the age-related loss of muscle mass and strength. The research here is overwhelmingly clear. Low vitamin D status is strongly and consistently correlated with a faster onset of sarcopenia, a greater risk of falls, and higher all-cause mortality in older populations. This shouldn't be surprising, now that we know that vitamin D receptors are present in skeletal muscle and directly influence its strength and ability to recover. Optimizing your vitamin D levels is like ensuring that your body's internal muscle repair machinery keeps running smoothly, decade after decade. It is a direct investment in preserving your strength, your balance, and your independence well into your later years. Now, let's consider your connective tissues and vascular health. This is where vitamin C plays a starring role in longevity. It is not only essential for collagen synthesis in your muscles and tendons, but also in your blood vessels. Collagen is the protein that gives your arteries and veins their structural integrity and their elasticity. Think of it as the flexible yet strong material that allows your blood vessels to expand and contract with each heartbeat. Without adequate vitamin C, the collagen in your blood vessels becomes weak, causing them to stiffen. This stiffening of the arteries is a primary driver of high blood pressure and an increased risk of cardiovascular disease. In fact, long-term sufficiency in vitamin C intake has been associated in large population studies with lower rates of cardiovascular disease, which remains the #1 cause of mortality worldwide. By supporting both your muscle and your vascular integrity, vitamin C helps keep your entire system more youthful and resilient. And finally, let's look at this from the cellular level, at the very hallmarks of aging. With age, our mitochondria tend to accumulate damage. They become less efficient, producing less energy and more reactive oxygen species. This process, often called mitochondrial dysfunction, is considered a core driver of the aging process itself. It's what leads to the downward spiral of fatigue, weakness, and metabolic decline that so often accompanies aging. Here again, our two vitamins provide a powerful defense. Vitamin C provides direct antioxidant defense, quenching the fires of oxidative stress, while vitamin D influences mitochondrial gene expression, helping to preserve their efficiency and function. Together, they form a shield against one of the most fundamental processes of aging. Think of it this way. Every single night, your body is at a crossroads. It has a choice. It can either fully repair and rebuild, keeping your systems resilient and youthful, or it can fall slightly behind, allowing a small amount of damage to accumulate. On any given day, that small difference is imperceptible, but over the course of years, and then decades, those tiny nightly differences compound into dramatically different health trajectories. One person enters their 70s strong, mobile, and mentally sharp. Another person of the same age struggles with frailty, insulin resistance, and chronic disease. The difference often lies not in their genetics alone, but in whether their body consistently had the tools, the essential micronutrients to fully repair and restore itself every single night. This is why focusing on your nightly recovery, supported by crucial vitamins like D and C, is one of the simplest yet most powerful longevity interventions you have within your control. It's not about chasing exotic biohacks or unproven shortcuts. It is about fundamentally aligning your daily habits with what your biology already knows how to do: to repair, to rebuild, and to restore. And here's the most empowering part. These are changes you can make today. You do not have to wait for a new therapy or a breakthrough drug. By optimizing your intake of these vitamins, prioritizing your sleep, and fueling your body with whole foods, you are literally influencing the rate at which you age at a cellular level. So as we wrap up this deep dive, let's step back and connect the dots into a clear, simple picture. We started by questioning a common belief about magnesium, and in the process, we uncovered a much more powerful truth about recovery. The big picture is this. First, muscle is not just for strength. It is your longevity organ, one of the strongest predictors of a long and healthy life. Second, this vital organ is not truly built in the gym. It is rebuilt, repaired, and made stronger while you sleep. And third, the most critical tools for that nightly construction are two often overlooked vitamins. Vitamin D, the project manager, and vitamin C, the structural engineer. And now you know. You've made it through the science, and what you've just discovered is more than just information. You've learned the fundamental mechanism of nighttime recovery. You now know to take back control over how your body repairs itself, night after night. That is real power. I don't expect you to change everything all at once. The goal is not perfection, it's progress. So my challenge to you is simple. Just do one thing. Pick one single habit from our discussion and integrate it starting tonight. Maybe it's adding a sliced red bell pepper to your dinner salad, or simply taking your vitamin D supplement with your evening meal instead of in the morning. That small, single choice is how every meaningful change begins. And so we can build a community of people who are serious about their health span. If you feel inspired to take that first step, please comment with the phrase, ready to act down below. It's a powerful way to commit yourself, and I truly do read through the comments. Always remember, you are far more powerful in shaping your health than you may have been led to believe. This is not an endpoint. It is the beginning of your journey to reclaim your vitality. Please subscribe to the channel so we can continue to walk this path together.